Tell you who we haven't seen the last of, though, is VP Kamala Harris. You would have thought after that dreadful loss, she blew over $1 billion, dreadful loss to Trump. The Democrats
Joe
would
Biden
just be shelving her
for stealing $1 billion with absolutely nothing to show for it. That's my thought. Sorry.
But apparently she's got her sights set on becoming California governor. Here's CNN on that.
What the likelihood is of Harris running for governor.
What she's been saying to people over the last couple of weeks, donors, other supporters that she's been talking with, is you haven't seen the last of me. I'm not going quietly into the night. Advisors, people close to her, are debating about what that means. They do not want her final official act ever to be essentially certifying Donald Trump's win over her, especially 4 years after January 6th. And so they look at this governor's race in California in 2026, and it seems to them like a layup, essentially, that she would probably clear the field, or mostly clear the field, and she would get to be governor of California. It's a pretty good job.
Apparently, whether she gets that going all depends on whether people believe in the DNC that she can then go on to be a successful candidate at the 2028 presidential debates. Are you kidding me? No. She fell over in 2020, didn't even get a single vote because she pulled out. No one in the Lay Party likes her. She became VP because Biden needed a woman, preferably an ethnic woman. She's been massively unpopular, and her record is absolutely nothing except for that infamous cackle. So you'd think surely this isn't true, and yet if you're watching the DNC holiday get-together, if you listen to Biden, it sounds like there's something in this.
Look, it's also been an incredible honor to serve with someone of immense character that she demonstrated through her entire career, Kamala Harris. I knew what I was doing to ask her to be my vice president. I knew her. I knew of her. I knew about her. I knew her record. I trusted her. She always served this country with purpose and integrity, and she always will. And you're not going anywhere, kid, because we're not going to let you go.
With purpose and integrity, these guys literally do nothing but gaslight.
We know that Joe Biden doesn't like Kamala Harris anymore. Jill Biden can't even look at her. But looking at that CNN clip, it's all about Trump, isn't it? That Kamala Harris wants to run again, whether it's for governor or to be president, maybe one day. It's still about Donald Trump, really. But if you look at her track record as vice president, she was so unpopular. Her one role was to look after the border. We all know how badly that was handled. And then that campaign, as you mentioned, you know, Joe Biden probably pardoned Kamala Harris for spending $1 billion in 3 months.
It was genuinely a criminal campaign.
But look, she's having a laugh.
They're trying to talk up now, being like, well, she raised over $1 billion. You know,
that's right.
she's
a Democrat. But
they're actually so delusional that when she said that in her crazed, rambling video, that she didn't even realise that made it worse. She didn't even realise that, she said, hey, I had this whole thing delivered to me on a platter and I still screwed it. But she's bragging about how big the platter was that this was handed to her on. And if you listen to that, and this is what makes me absolutely genuinely furious, and we see this creeping into the Democrats in particular and progressive politics more generally, where it's all about. It's just all about them. It's just all about the person. It is, now, keep in mind, this is meant to be, the left that I remember, that was meant to be about everyone else. It was meant to be about all the masses, all the poor people out there struggling, can't get a break, and you're going to help them out. You listen to that clip from CNN, and not once do they mention what's good for the people of California.
It's all about Trump.
That's right, but it's not even all about Trump. It's all about her. So it would be bad for her if her last act in public was just to hand it over to Donald Trump. And then, oh yes, we've got the governorship of California coming up. That's a pretty good layup, and she would just be handed that on a platter as well. And as he says, oh, it's a pretty good job. So Kamala would still be able to get a pretty good job and be able to pay all those pretty good bills in the middle of a pretty good cost of living crisis. Like, can you imagine the narcissism, the absolute hubris that makes her think still to this day, that this is all about her. This is all about how everyone around her, the Democratic National Committee, the entire state of California, has to make up for her hopeless incompetence and complete vacuousness that deprived her of every single metric of the last presidential and congressional elections.
100%.
And then give her everything back to her on a platter again. Because why? Because then it wouldn't be that nice for her if the last thing she had to do was hand the keys to Donald Trump because of her own incompetence. Like, it is I have never, ever encountered that level of narcissism outside someone who is an actual sociopath.